Chapter 1. Remains. Conco Pharmaceuticals, Regional Headquarters, Chicago, Illinois. Branch Director David Birch walks down the hallways, flanked by Acting Chairman Han Hayanaro and Special Projects Director Deborah Rude. An escort of 6 security operatives in gray suits with concealed machine pistols follow the trio of the company's highest-ranking officials. With the founder and CEO of the company thought dead from the attack by Yamura, his number 2 Hayanaro has had to step up and be the public face of the company. The world at large still thinks Khan dead. Only a few select individuals in the company's inner circle are aware that Khan survived the attack. "We were hit by another raid last night," Birch says with annoyance. "Every test subject we had collected was released, and the Special Operations Squad assigned to protect the facility was wiped out. 22 non-enhanced operators were handed over to the authorities, with 13 others killed." "That's not so bad. We have resources within the police system that can ensure our interests will remain protected. The men will be released by the end of the week," Hayanaro reassures him. "What of the operatives that possess the GX parasite?" Birch shakes his head. "Dead. All 6 of them." Hayanaro pauses, thinking on the news with concern. "Who was behind the attack?" "Who do you think?" Birch's voice rises with irritation. The director has reached his patience limit and is ready for someone else to handle the problem. He glares at Deborah accusingly. "I lost control of that boy a long time ago. You cannot hold me responsible," Deborah replies, trying to keep her own emotions under wraps. "Between his little group and the Rogue Brothers, we are sustaining heavy losses. Something must be done about them. We cannot train enhanced operators fast enough to address this problem," Hayanaro admits. "Our most skilled warriors were defeated in Clavemont. We still have not fully recovered from that day." "You have an entire city of test subjects to draw upon," Birch says angrily. He points a finger in Hayanaro's face. The guards following them tense, ready for escalation. "I can't keep a strike team manned with the resources I have available here." "I will temporarily station a team of my personal lead operatives here, if that would set your fears at ease," Hayanaro says. Birch nods. "They need to be strong. Her boy is on a real level beyond any of our other operatives," he adds, glaring at Deborah. Deborah folds her arms, scowling. "I fully expect you to replenish our forces during this period. While our elites keep our failures off your back, you need to push through as many prime subjects as possible." "I'll make a phone call before the inspection is completed," Hayanaro says. After finishing the tour, Hayanaro steps into the reserved executive office to make a private phone call. The armed guards patrol the hall outside the office, keeping everyone out so that the chairman is not disturbed. "Is he sure that it's the rude boy that's attacking our facilities?" Antonio Khan asks. The man's voice is still raspy, having had his throat slit open only a short time ago. "Not only him, Peril and his brother have also made frequent attacks on our interests in the region." Khan growls in anger. Close to triggering the GX parasite that now resides in his blood is the parasite that saved the man's life, but it also keeps him on a thin line between humanity and something more savage. The thought of their own turning against them angers Khan greatly. One of the last successful experiments out of Clavemont, the young operative Peril was positioned to become a powerful asset. Gifted with psychic abilities due to his mutation, Peril was among Khan's strongest warriors almost immediately after his creation. In the battles that unfolded in Clavemont after the Rude Boys stole the virtual biosuit, Peril's rebellious nature proved to be too difficult to control. The appearance of the boy's older brother was the final catalyst that tore Peril from their ranks. "Abducted subjects lack the loyalty of volunteer soldiers," Khan says. He thinks of his most loyal warriors, Shesha and the late Hajir. They were among the first to be bonded with GX in a bid to gain more power and remain faithful over the years. "You know as well as I do how limited our resources are from which to draw upon. Experimentation on the public must continue before we can risk our own operatives.
What of the hospital? Can we lease more operatives out from the doctor?
Hainaro thinks for a moment. I can try. Last I heard, he was having his own issues with supply.
If we know our enemies are targeting our facilities, we can use that knowledge to trap them.
What do you propose?
We will station as many operatives as we can make available here at the Louisiana facility. When the pests arrive to liberate what they think are more innocent victims, they will fall right into our hands. We will eliminate them all with one fell swoop.
It will be done as you say, sir. Hainaro disconnects and stands there thinking for a moment, before returning to the hallway. Soon the virtual biosuit will be recovered and the data collected from its sensors will advance our research by leaps and bounds. We may be off schedule, but we will benefit from the boy's treason greatly. Deborah and Birch are allowed into the office after first knocking. Hainaro has his back to them, admiring an aerial photo of the Chicago facility's groundbreaking ceremony. Well? Birch asks impatiently. Our enemies will be lured to the Louisiana facility where they will be dealt with. Brian Rood and his allies will be erased and the virtual biosuit will be returned to us. So I won't be receiving any backup here? Birch asks. Mr. Khan understands your concerns and will be sending a supplementary detachment to assist your operatives. The chairman notices Deborah's rigid posture and the tense air surrounding her. Do you take issue with our plan? Hainaro asks. I did not think you had emotional attachments to the boy. Deborah tries to shake off her weakness quickly. Sorry, I was just thinking. Is there a problem? He reiterates. No, of course not. That child was conceived for the project and he was a failure. Failures need to be scrubbed clean and started over. Birch shudders at the thought of anyone having a kid with the Ice Queen. Deborah Rood is known throughout the company as a cold and ruthless woman. Not even her own flesh and blood could receive her love. The architect of your son's escape remains with him. She will also be dealt with, Hainaro adds. Raquel Melendez, codenamed Vale, was one of the 3 project supervisors of Clavemont. Secretly, she worked with Deborah's husband and the young test subject called Storm to bring down Conco from the inside. While Jonas Rood was exposed and killed by Deborah, Raquel was able to evade capture and lead the rebels in their successful attack on the Atlanta facility. I would like to personally see that traitor suffer, Deborah growls, balling her fists. The idea that Raquel and Jonas were sneaking around behind her back and scheming against them makes the woman furious. You will be needed elsewhere, Hainaro says. Shesha and his team will be leading the Louisiana operation. That worthless lizard failed to defeat Yamura multiple times, Deborah says, less than convinced. The virtual biosuit is more dangerous than a solitary possessed human. Your son has not mastered the use of the biosuit. It's unlikely that it will prove to be too much for Shesha to handle, Hainaro says. I think you're overestimating the boy, Birch says. Just because you're gifted does not mean that he too is extraordinary. Deborah glares, barely resisting the urge to compel Birch to smash his own head against the wall. Hainaro smiles, picking up on Deborah's malice. Shesha will be advised to attempt to bring Raquel back alive. Would that be satisfactory? Hainaro says. Nodding, Deborah calms slightly. She pictures the various tortures that she can inflict upon the woman. Each bond between a host and the GX parasite is unique, and the abilities are gifted according to the person's true nature. Codenamed Coercion, Deborah is able to plant her own suggestions into the mind of a target. The more activated her parasite becomes, the degree to which she can influence her victims is greatly increased. Implanting the order into Raquel's mind to cut off her own fingers with a pair of scissors would be a satisfying first torture, Deborah thinks. Totikahatchee, Florida. The sky is red behind a thick cover of storm clouds. No rain falls from the clouds, but intense electrical displays flash constantly. Lightning strikes without abandon, lashing out at the skeletal remains of the buildings that stand now only as a mockery to what was once a real city. Flames ravage the landscape. The city is a nightmare of fire and death. Thousands of civilians lie buried in hundreds of tons of rubble, or have been obliterated completely by the magic and energy attacks wielded by the two battling Sicarii. Inyana looks down, seeing her own arm thrust through her torso. Blood drips steadily to the ground. "Impossible," she whispers, drilling up more blood. "How could you gain control of my arm?" The voice of Anne Stewart echoes throughout Inyana's mind. "I won't let you kill my son, you bitch. I'm dragging you to hell with me." "Mom?" Jake whispers, staring up at the gruesome scene with tears in his eyes. The boy is helpless to do anything but watch as the battle ends without his involvement. Gerald Williams forces himself to crawl over to his grandson. The older man's legs are injured and he cannot stand. He pulls the crying teen to him and tries to comfort the boy. "It'll be okay, Jake." Gerald tries to prevent his own tears from streaming. He does not look as Inyana's power fades, and she's unable to keep herself aloft, her body falling out of the sky. Gerald hears the impact, but refuses to look over. Seeing his daughter in that state would only break him. He knows he must stay strong for Jake. The boy needs him now more than ever. "Come on, Jake. We need to leave." "Your legs," Jake whispers. "You can't walk." "I'll be fine," Gerald says, wincing. He stands, swallowing the pain. Jake is surprised how sturdy his elder is. His grandfather has no abilities or enhancements, yet he stood on the front lines with him to challenge Inyana. The two of them survived, yet Inyana did not. The price for that victory, however, was too great. Jake will never be able to get over what he considers a personal failure. Had he been strong enough to defeat Inyana himself, he feels that his mother would not have had to sacrifice her life to protect him. Jake's grandmother, Lydia, waits for the duo at the end of a side street leading out of town. "All of the main roads are blocked by police and National Guard," she says. "It won't be easy for us to get out of here." "We don't have any other choice," Gerald says, straining to climb into the vehicle. "We can't be found here after all that Inyana did. This city is gone. She killed so many people." There's deep sadness and regret in the man's voice. Jake sits in the back seat, sinking into a near catatonic state. He says nothing as his grandparents speed out of the apocalyptic landscape and towards refuge. Another person he loves has been ripped away from him. Everywhere the teen goes, people die. Jake believes that he's cursed. Cursed to be a magnet for death and suffering. First it was Yumura, then Konko and Inyana. Jake knows that this will not be the end. Some new threat will surface and torment him even more. The teen wishes that it was he who died in that city, not his mother. Konko facility, outskirts of Gaudreau, Louisiana. Shesha Tariq Khalidi exits the security office and enters the sprawling lobby of Konko's Louisiana office. After the destruction of the Atlanta office, the facility located in the isolated swamps acts as the new Southern Regional headquarters. "Commander," a tall, fit man with a freshly shaven face and closely cropped hair says, greeting Shesha as the man passes him in the hall. With the death of Hajir, Shesha has taken over as the leader of the Special Operations Force. "Thomas," Shesha replies, acknowledging Thomas Lowe, one of the security operators. Codenamed Envy, Lowe is able to use his parasite to alter the appearance of his body to duplicate another. Envy is used for most stealth operations. It is not among the strongest of Shesha's men, but is invaluable for his special powers. "Go gather the teams and meet me in the ready room." Envy nods, running off. Each Konko branch has one enhanced security team in charge of protecting it in addition to the regular human guards. Regional headquarters act as a staging ground for enhanced teams and has up to 5 teams on hand at any given time. The battles in Clavemont and Atlanta put a serious strain on the southern region's security forces. In the ready room, 24 GX enhanced operatives sit and await the appearance of their commander. 2 of the men are longtime loyalists to Conco, having served alongside Shesha well before any of them ever heard about alien parasites. Shesha enters the auditorium-like room, and his eyes immediately connect with the veteran's codename, Scarab and Demolition. The Chicago facility has been the most recent target of the traitors, Virtual, Storm, and Peril. I'll be sending a team today up north to assist in protecting our assets there, and luring our enemies to this facility. Soon, we will finally put an end to those rebels, Shesha announces. I want in on that action, a member of the now dismantled crew says. The passion in Sting's voice comes from losing several of his comrades and former classmates in the battle in Clavemont. Many of the GX-enhanced operatives were pulled from the communities from which the facilities lie. The night that the citizens of Clavemont were taken by Conco, Sting's teammates Scorp and Bull were felled by the Sakari named Yamura. Yamura has not been associated with the attacks since Atlanta, Shesha explains, understanding Sting's need to avenge the deaths of his friends. I'm sure each of you has seen enough on the news to know that Yamura has his hands full. He is still a wanted fugitive by the FBI. We will not be having any need to worry about him for quite some time. I'm aware, Sting says calmly. Trying to go after him while he is still so fresh in the public mind would only serve to expose us as well. Shesha's eyes raise in interest. That is awfully mature of you. I did not expect such a rational response. The good of the company comes before our personal vendettas, right? Shesha nods. I've selected Boulder, Tidal, Tin Man, Volt, and Darkhold to be sent to Chicago to assist Director Birch. The remainder of our forces will remain here to assist for when the Virtual arrives. Sibel Miranda arrives at the Conco facility, under orders from Inyana. Having lost connection with her acolyte Emil, Inyana has long suspected the treacherous Antonio Khan of murdering the young woman. Meet with Khan and find out the fate of my dear Emil, Inyana instructed Sibel. If you discover that he was indeed behind Emil's death, make sure that Khan suffers greatly before he dies. Imbued with a portion of Inyana's power like her predecessors, Sibel is prepared to destroy Khan's entire corporation if necessary. Entering the facility, the woman quickly scans the building to take stock of what she's up against. Multiple powerful beings reside within the building, causing Sibel some hesitation. She keeps faith that Inyana's strength exceeds any of the GX-enhanced warriors Khan has in his employ. Who the hell are you? Shesha asks, being the first to encounter Sibel as she enters the lobby. With the frequent attacks from Brian Rood and his allies against Conco facilities across the country, the remaining locations have gone into protective lockdowns. Regulation of any outsiders has become standard procedure. My name is Sibel Miranda. I'm an emissary of the Great Queen Inyana. Shesha frowns. That bitch. I thought we made it pretty clear that we didn't want to do business with her. Sibel balls her fists, grinding her teeth together in anger. She finds it difficult to restrain herself from teaching the vulgar man to properly respect her queen. Let her pass, Shesha, Khan says, emerging from the security office. I did not expect to hear from Inyana ever again. My queen wishes to know the whereabouts of her emissary, Emile Roche. She never reported back after her task of speaking with you and organizing the death of Yamura and his vessel. Right to the point, I see, Khan chuckles. Our facility was attacked. I assume that poor girl perished along with many of my own staff. Attack? Who was the perpetrator of this attack? Sibel questions. Yamura, Khan replies. We had him subdued,
but someone released him. Pure chaos ensued. I lost many of my best resources that day.
You were ordered to execute Ymir once he was in custody, not keep him alive, Sibel growls.
I do not take orders from Mignano or anyone else, Khan says. I made this exceedingly clear to your lady before.
Mignano will soon rule this entire world. I do not recommend getting on her bad side, Sibel threatens.
Khan smiles. Your predecessor said something similar. Are these empty threats, or should I soon expect Inyana's wrath to challenge me directly?
I'm starting to question the truthfulness of your claim that Emil was killed by Ymir.
Are you accusing me of murdering your friend? Khan asks. Where's your proof? You cannot barge into my building and level outlandish accusations against me.
I have not made any accusations yet. I'm merely making an observation. You seem very defensive about this. Are you worried that Queen Inyana will learn of your true self?
Like I care if I offended her, Khan growls. I have thousands of GX-enhanced warriors in my employ, and billions of dollars worth of resources to level against that blue-skinned witch. If Inyana wants to come for me, let her. She will not walk out of this building alive.
Shesha grins, his eyes turning yellow as his parasite stirs with excitement. Yes, I pray that she comes. I would love to get my hands on a female Sakari to tear apart piece by piece. How dare you, Sibel shouts. You will regret those foul remarks about my queen. Only if she learns about it, Shesha snarls. What if you never leave this room alive?
Shesha, Khan scolds. Keep your mouth shut. There is no need to threaten this young woman with violence. She is free to leave us at any time.
I will return, Sibel promises. And when I do, I will expect proof of your explanation of Emil's death. If you cannot prove it was Ymir that killed her, the full might of Queen Inyana will fall upon your entire business empire. Sibel drops to a knee, suddenly flushed. Her breathing is heavy and she becomes covered in a thick sheen of sweat.
What's wrong?
Khan asks, seeing the sudden change in the typically strong and fierce woman. My mistress, she whispers near tears. I feel as though my connection to her has become completely lost.
Has she died?
Khan wonders what it would take to have killed the legendary Inyana when his greatest fighters couldn't even defeat her weaker younger brother. I don't know. I simply feel an emptiness where I before felt the comforting warmth of her presence. Khan contemplates the ramifications of Sibel's disconnect with Inyana. If the woman is truly severed from the alluring well of the Sakari's power, what need does he have to keep her alive? For the man who can use his own power and wealth to attract a dozen more equally attractive females in minutes if he so desired, what use does he have for a woman who is more of a liability than an asset? With as much as she now knows of his operations, the woman becomes a huge risk. Khan's enemies can never learn that he is still alive. Khan palms Emil's enchanted knife. Sibel, completely unaware of the weapon belonging to her predecessor, being in the possession of her killer. A chill falls over Sibel. It is a sudden and cold emptiness that disconnects the young woman from all that she has come to know as comfort. No longer tied to the overwhelming reservoir of strength of Inyana, the human suddenly feels small, weak, and more alone than she has ever been before. Khan notices the woman's hands are trembling, and her complexion has paled considerably. Sibel sweats heavily, even though the room is relatively cool. As he tightens his grip on Emil's blade, Khan's resolve to use it increases, with each sign that Sibel is severed from the bond that she and the Sakari Queen shared. I cannot feel her anymore, Sibel whispers, tears now running down her cheeks. The woman's breathing is increased, and it is evident that panic is setting in.
How disappointing, I did not expect the great Sakari Queen to be defeated, Khan muses.
No, Sibel cries. That's impossible. No one can defeat Lady Inyana.
Your fanatic devotion does not change the simple fact that your connection to her has been forcefully severed. The intoxication that you previously felt tied to her power is gone, and now you are like a drug addict in the throes of withdrawal.
No, this must be a mistake. There could be some kind of interference that's blocking our connection.
I do not know much about magic, as I am foremost a man of science. What seems fantastical and magical simply is something that has not yet been explained through rational processes. What I do suspect is that the ability Inyana used to connect to you is not some weak radio signal that can be jammed. There is only one explanation to what we both see is evident.
She cannot be dead, Sibel shouts. It's impossible. She was only up against her brother Yamura. Yamura's vessel is but a child. He is far too weak to be able to defeat her. Khan rubs his scarred throat. The memory of Yamura's attack still all too recent.
And yet we see evidence to the contrary. He sighs loudly. It seems that I backed the wrong horse in this race. Inyana made a great deal of promises that she will be unable to keep. This is very displeasing to me.
I can find her, Sibel begs. She is not dead. Give me some time to prove it to you.
Your usefulness without a direct connection to Inyana's power is less than nothing to me. Goodbye, my dear,
Khan says, moving forward with deceptive speed. As he plunges Emil's knife deep into Sibel's torso, the woman thrashes, unable to open her mouth to scream. Blood oozes from her nose and drools from the corners of her lips. Eyes wide, she looks on her murderer with a mixture of confusion and betrayal.
Without Inyana's power, your usefulness to me has come to an end.
He pulls her close enough to whisper into her ear one final time.
It was not Yamura that killed Emil. It was my people.
Her thoughts are no longer able to focus. She tries with everything she has remaining to look away, so that the last thing she sees is not Khan's taunting smile. Having killed so many men in similar ways herself, Sibel cannot believe how Khan was able to make her feel at ease and let her guard down. A superior predator, he switched their roles and used her until the very end. No longer having the strength to stand, Sibel drops to the floor in a pool of thick, dark blood.
Ah,
Khan says with a mixture of elation and surprise.
It's been quite some time since I killed someone with my own hands. When you see your dear queen in hell, give her my regards.
The light in Sibel's eyes dim, and she becomes still.
With Inyana out of the picture and Yamura stronger than any of your men, we must come up with a much more efficient method of ensuring my safety, Khan says.
Nicely done. She died beautifully, Shesha muses. Much cleaner than I would have done. You seem to be a bit of a romantic in that regard.
Compared to your brutality, any other killing seems a mercy.
Khan tosses Emil's knife onto the floor.
It was a necessity. She knew too much about us, and no longer had the means to justify that privilege.
Shesha shrugs. I wouldn't have needed a reason to kill her. I enjoy the thrill alone.
There are enemies that likely would become emboldened should she have allied with them. Sakari connected or not, the knowledge of this company and my operations cannot be leaked.
We still need our own Sakari, Shesha says, looking down at Sibel. Inyana's conduits didn't work out as planned.
Inyana was never ours. She was trying to use us for her own ends from the very beginning. Before this woman, Emil, too, was sent to sabotage me the second she realized that I was not her pawn. The Sakari Queen was not trustworthy enough to count as an ally.
Only a handful of Sakari even survived their invasion of this world, and most of them were imprisoned like Yamura and Inyana. We really don't have a lot of others to choose from.
And yet those two became free within just a few years of each other. If we could not ally with the sister, perhaps our lot should be thrown in with the brother.
Shesha narrows his eyes on Khan in confusion. He recalls the numerous fierce battles he fought against Ymura, and still feels the burning of the Sakari's claws as they rip through his flesh. He looks at his employer's still scarred neck and wonders how he could ever forgive the monster for his transgressions. Even if he could be forgiven by us for his attacks, we're still responsible for the death of the vessel's father. I don't see him signing up for our fan club.
We have the general's blood.
Khan grins. The man seems much more frightening to Shesha after his seeming return from the death. He has become even more ruthless and cruel if such a thing is even possible.
Even now, the best minds in the world are working across the clock to break down the Sakari's DNA sequence. Soon we will be able to create a warrior greater than any the human race could produce naturally. With the combined power of the Sakari and the GX parasite, not even Ymura would be able to stand against us.
Khan pushes several buttons on his security system to bring up a small cell on screen. Inside the cell, a man in tattered clothing with long, unkempt hair and a wild, scraggly beard sits motionless.
Besides, we still have an ace up our sleeve against the boy we have yet to use.
Is that... Shesha whispers in disbelief, walking closer to the monitor.
Misinformation is a powerful tool in war.
So it's not him? Khan shrugs.
Doesn't matter. So long as young Jake is convinced, we will still have the boy in our grasp.
He looks down at the blood on his hands.
I need to clean this mess up.
May I keep the body for a bit? Shesha asks, grinning devilishly. While she's still fresh. Khan shrugs, having no attachment to the corpse, or how she may be defiled by the demented mutation. Khan is not surprised, even though he still finds the behavior disturbing.
I don't care so long as you dispose of it properly when you're done. I don't want the corpse showing back up where it can be discovered by outsiders or the authorities.
Do you really think I would be that careless? I'm a professional.
Totikahachi is relatively close to where the doctor operates out of. Send an envoy to the hospital. I would like to know all that the doctor knows about the Sakari,
Khan says. Didn't he tell you everything he knew while he had Ymura in custody and while he was trying to place the inhibitor chip in his mind?
I have long suspected that our friend the doctor keeps most of his knowledge to himself. Cannot blame him, as I have a similar habit.
So you think he's been holding out on us?
Likely. I want to try to work peacefully if possible. Our mutual benefits far outweigh going to war with each other. The doctor is responsible for most of the world's enhanced mercenary teams. Hell, he has been involved with many of our own soldiers' births.
Are you scared of him? Shesha eyes Khan like a wolf who has sensed weakness in its alpha. Khan glares back at Shesha, his eyes flashing yellow for a moment.
Do not try me, Shesha. I am afraid of no one.
He touches the scar on his throat left by Ymura's claws.
I have faced death itself and emerged triumphant.
So what exactly are we going to get out of the doctor that we can't find out on our own?
I want to know the final fate of Inyana,
Khan says, looking over at Sibel's body.
I want to know if she was truly defeated by Ymura. If he was nearby, he will know far more than any local authorities. The doctor has his fingers in every pie down there.
We've both seen what Ymura is capable of. Do you really think it's possible that he defeated someone like Inyana? She was power incarnate, and a witch beyond that.
If he still lives, Ymura must be monitored carefully. He will only continue to grow in strength. If this situation is not approached correctly, we could see everything I have built come crashing down.
I beat Ymura within an inch of his life in our first encounter, Shesha growls. I'm confident that the next time we meet, I will slaughter him effortlessly.
Before we go attacking him, further testing must be done on his blood in our possession.
There are plenty of mixed blood assassins out there. His blood cannot be that special.
The DNA used to create Sakati hybrids is diluted by generations of crossbreeding with humanity. We are going back to the source with Ymuru's blood. The warriors we create with his blood will be pure and raw. The next generation of Sakati will be more powerful than even our strongest GX enhanced.
Shesha growls deep in his throat angrily. I refuse to be replaced by Sakari blood mutts.
Do not take offense, my loyal friend. Even the mightiest barbarians of the Bronze Age could not stand up against mediocre warriors with iron. Iron-wielding titans would be struck down like nothing by the discovery of superior steel. Do not become attached to your iron axe, dear Shesha. Proudly take hold of your new sword of steel, and continue the fight that you were destined for.
Damn your confounded speech, Shesha growls. You just enjoy the sound of your own voice.
In the meantime, we have other nuisances to address.
You referring to Coercion's son and his merry band of misfits and traitors? Khan nods.
They continue to be a growing thorn in my side. They must be dealt with before they gain any lasting foothold against us.
Ainaro reports that they've managed to take down 3 of our satellite labs and 1 research facility. Personal losses are near total. Only a handful of operatives were able to escape and report back.
The addition of young Peril to the enemy ranks is problematic. He was to be the greatest of his peers and lead the crew. Instead, he allies with our foes and kills his genetic brethren.
It would be my pleasure to crush that arrogant little pup. I never liked that kid. The sight of his smug face angers me greatly.
Locate them and send a force worthy of their strength. Do not underestimate Peril or the rude boy. Lure them back to this facility and utterly annihilate them. Show them no mercy. All I ask is that you leave the virtual biosuit in as good of condition as possible.
Shesha grins. I'll bring it back with pieces of the kid still dripping out of the sleeves. Rockland High School, Rockland, Indiana, September 4th, 1998. Mrs. Franklin stands at the blackboard, writing several practice sentences for the students to conjugate. In the back of the room, Red Hawk nods off, his head falling forward and banging on the desk, hard enough to snap himself awake. "Fuck!" Red Hawk shouts. "Is there a problem, Riley?" Mrs. Franklin asks, annoyed by the outburst. "No, I just get really excited conjugating verbs," Red Hawk replies, embarrassed. Principal Priest enters the room without knocking, immediately whispering something in Mrs. Franklin's ear before walking away. Mrs. Franklin turns on the television and walks back to her chair, speechless. On the screen is shaky footage from the Battle of Totikahatchee. It's difficult to see, but Inyana hovers hundreds of feet over the ground as she uses her magic to topple buildings and cause massive devastation. Horrified screams echo all around. A terrified announcer tries to narrate, but he cannot get any closer due to the carnage all around him. Police cars blockade the streets, trying to prevent anyone else from entering the city and putting themselves in danger. If you are just joining us, I apologize for what you're about to witness. This is 100% real, and not for the faint of heart. We're live from the site of the terrorist attack in Totikahatchee, Florida. I don't know quite how to explain this. Some kind of attack is occurring in the city. The woman you see in frame has been destroying the city with what appears to be magical powers of some kind. I know this sounds ridiculous, but I can't think of any other way to describe what I'm seeing. A few eyewitnesses who got out just as the attack was beginning tell me that the woman identified herself as Inyana. A second figure appears on screen briefly, leaping from a building and attempting to strike Inyana with a punch. Inyana twists to dodge and delivers a hard knee to the gut. The attacker takes the blow, rising up for a second try for a punch. I'm being told this second person is called Yamura. If you recall, this is the alias of last month's notorious school shooter, Jake Stewart. Stewart murdered several of his classmates before directly attacking the local police department. Stewart was never apprehended and is also wanted in connection to the disappearance of the people of the town of Clavemont, Georgia. Jake is struck by Inyana and sent crashing down through the side of a building. Holy shit, Red Hawk whispers. Is this really happening? Garcia asks, rubbing his eyes. If I'm tweaking, you gotta snap me out of it, bro. No, man. I think this is real, Red Hawk says. Jake is fighting a witch on national television, Chris says in disbelief. This shit is nuts. I thought he was some kind of demon-possessed madman. Why would he be fighting a witch? Garcia asks, confused. Maybe they both wanted to destroy the city and are fighting over who gets the honors, Red Hawk says. In another classroom, Derek, Gavin, and K-Dog also watch as Inyana wreaks havoc on the city of Totikahachi. The three teens grip the sides of their desks tensely, wanting nothing more than to run out of the room to find their friends. This can't be happening, K-Dog whispers in disbelief. Everything Rusty said about Jake was true. There's no way Jake could do this kind of thing without the power of some kind of demon fueling him. Did you just see his last jump? He had to have gotten 150 to 200 feet in the air. No one has those kind of ups. No one human, Derek whispers. K-Dog nods. Yeah, no human. Who's that flying lady he's fighting? Gavin asks. Call me crazy, but it kind of looks like Jake's mom, K-Dog whispers. Aunt Anne? Derek goes white. She went missing the night that Brad and Vaughn died. After class, the teens gather at their lockers and await the arrival of their friends. Everyone is thoroughly shaken up. I take it you saw the video too, Rusty says, walking up to them. Derek nods. What do you think? I think Jake needs my help and I'm stuck here, Rusty growls. Are you crazy? Did you not see that flying witch? Red Hawk asks. She was knocking down entire buildings with just the wave of her hand. I need to get a hold of Danny. Maybe she has more information, Rusty says. Danny? The goth chick? K-Dog asks. Why would she know more than us? She's also a magic user, and was present when we fought Yamura at the police station. I ran into her again a few days ago when that ghost monster attacked the school. She came with a team of wizards and destroyed the monster. If that woman who fought Jake was using magic, maybe they know who it is, Rusty says. I think it's Aunt Anne, Derek says, and I think she was possessed by another demon like Yamura. I think it might be the same one that made Brooke kill her family. Do you really think she's got one of those demons inside of her too? Gavin asks. Derek recalls how the police said his cousin Brooke murdered her family. She has to. There's been two of those monsters all along. Brooke was possessed by one when she murdered Melissa. It must have also went after Aunt Anne next. That's when Brad and Vaughn got killed. They must have been at Jake's house the same time as that demon. What were they doing at Jake's house in the first place? Rusty asks. I've wondered that too. Knowing Brad, it probably wasn't anything good, Derek says. One of the football players overhears their conversation and walks over angrily. You faggots need to keep Brad's name out of your fucking mouths. None of you are half the man Brad was. Rather than shirk away like usual, it's Gavin who speaks up. You're absolutely right. None of us are half the man Brad was. Each of us are more like 10 times the man that psychotic dickhead was. He got what he deserved, if you asked me. If there were any of him left in front of Jake's house, I'd scrape the ashes up to use in my cat's litter box. K-Dog and Red Hawk simultaneously mouth, holy shit. You little cocksucker! The football player rears back to punch, but his arm is grabbed forcefully by Mitch. Leave it, Mitch growls. Why are you standing up for this little bitch, Rigsby? Mitch stares the other jock down, unblinking. We're already dealing with enough drama. Save your frustrations for the field. We have to play West Vigo Friday. We can't have anyone doing anything stupid and getting kicked out. We're already 3 guys down. The jock pulls his arm away, still angry. You won't always have a guardian angel, Gavin. Gavin starts to thank Mitch, but the elder Rigsby boy walks away without saying another word. K-Dog pats Gavin on the back. I'm proud of you. I've never seen you nut up like that. Gavin shrugs. I guess I'm just tired of being their punching bag. Derek silently watches his brother walk away. Thank you. I know it's been hard on you too. This whole ordeal has nearly torn our family apart. Jake, Aunt Ann, Uncle Ian, Brooke, Scott, Melissa. Who else is going to die before these monsters just leave us alone? There is a real darkness growing inside of you, a voice says inside of Gavin's head. Gavin tries to ignore the thoughts. I bet no one else has even noticed. They don't care about you. They don't care how you feel. Fuck them, Gavin whispers under his breath angrily. He thinks back to the party where he was humiliated by Brad Henson and all of his friends. What was that? K-Dog asks, looking over at him. Nothing, Gavin mutters, still furious. Just experiencing a bad memory. That piece of shit got exactly what he deserved, Gavin thinks. If Jake was the one who killed Brad and those other assholes, Gavin wishes that he had asked him for help. I'd have helped him. Jake did the world a favor by ridding it of those cocksuckers. He recalls how Jake was the only person at the party who stood up for them. He tried to warn me and Derek not to trust those bastards. I don't care what he did. Jake is a fucking hero. If he is out there killing more people, they must have deserved to die. You guys want to meet up after school and check out my new ride? K-Dog asks. My dad just gave me his old Firebird. Gavin shrugs. I'll probably stay home tonight. Me too, Derek admits. I'm not in the mood to be social with everything that's going on. This is going to be pretty rough on my family. Damn, K-Dog complains. You guys are turning into a couple of shut-ins. Jake going psycho doesn't have to ruin our lives. We should count ourselves lucky that he left town without killing us as well. Gavin lunges, driving a forearm into K-Dog's throat and pinning him against the nearest wall. He isn't a fucking psycho, Gavin screams, spittle flying from his lips. Take that shit back. Okay, K-Dog says, holding up his arms. Chill. Maybe it was just too soon for me to say that. Sorry, but I just feel like his bad decisions are bringing everyone else down too. I got shit that I want to accomplish in life. I can't have Jake's reputation lingering over me like a black cloud. Gavin releases him. He doesn't need friends like you. Friends don't give up on each other as soon as it becomes inconvenient. You were ready to abandon Jake the first chance you got. Whoa, dude, Derek says with surprise, trying to intervene. What's gotten into you? Gavin glares at Derek, his eyes seeming to burn with passion. You of all people should be defending Jake. He was like your best friend, wasn't he? I have been defending Jake, but it hasn't helped any. I don't know what else there is that I can do. You may have given up trying to help, but I haven't. Gavin storms off. Jake still needs his real friends. Gavin, Derek says, trying to stop him. Just let him go, Redhawk says. He just needs some time to cool off. We're all a little shaken up. If the demon inside of Brooke moved into Aunt Ann and caused her to try to kill more people, maybe Jake was fighting her to try to stop her. Jake may not be the monster that everyone thinks he is. He did help me and Danny stop Yamura while that monster was in control of its body, Rusty says. That would make sense, Derek replies, deep in thought. No, K-Dog shouts. None of this makes any goddamn sense. Demons, magicians, people flying and destroying entire cities. I just want to finish high school, maybe get a basketball scholarship and bang a ton of hot college chicks. I can't have this craziness in my life. He throws his hands up. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm out. I can't do this anymore. He closes his locker and begins to walk away. K-Dog! Derek shouts. The teen does not turn around, continuing to walk. He's still upset that Gavin blew up at him earlier. He is not sure that he even wants to salvage their relationship right now. The teen believes it might be in his best interest to cut ties with the entire group before they ruin his own future. Those football assholes may have been right about those guys all along, K-Dog thinks with annoyance. You can't blame him, Rusty says. None of us are equipped to deal with this. This kind of shit isn't something anyone is really meant to understand. So if Jake is fighting the demon that made your cousin kill her family, why did Jake attack you? I thought he was a bad guy too, Red Hawk asks. Jake might have figured out a way to control Yamura, Rusty replies. From what I could tell from the video, he had to be using some of Yamura's power. There's no way that Jake could jump that high on his own or get thrown through a building without dying from his injuries. The police won't care about that, Derek says. If they catch Jake, they'll hold him responsible for this attack just like all the others. After school, I'll call Danny, Rusty replies. I'll let you know what I find out when I get home. Rusty meets up with Amy after school. The girl is clearly distraught. She immediately hugs her boyfriend tightly. What do you think happened to him? She cries. Do you think Jake died? Rusty shakes his head. Jake isn't that easy to get rid of. Dude had his soul ripped out of his body and he still figured out a way to come back. I have a feeling that Jake won that fight. I don't. Amy continues to cry. I have a terrible feeling in my heart that Jake is in pain. I wish we could check on him. I have an idea about that, Rusty says, pulling out his flip phone. He dials the number given to him by Danny after she fought against the Revenant. Hello? A girl's voice answers on the other end. Danny? Hi, this is Rusty Rigsby. Yeah? She pauses for a moment. What's up, kid? Do they have TVs where you are? Did you not just see Jake on the news? What? Danny shouts. What the fuck? Don't tell me the police got him. Damn it. I'd hope you had answers, but you know less than we do about this, Rusty says, disappointed. What happened? There was a huge battle down in Florida. Jake was fighting some woman, possibly his mother. It was all over the news. They leveled the city. Lots of people were killed. The woman was probably a magic user. I'd thought that maybe you'd know who she was. She used magic? Are you positive? Normal people can't fly and shoot fire from their hands or summon tornadoes. I'm pretty confident it was magic. I'll check up on it, but as far as I know, Adrian Scrimauer was the only rogue magician on our radar in Florida, and he's currently in our custody in the detention towers. It was definitely a woman. I'll do some digging. I'm sure someone around here will know something. I'd appreciate it. I'm feeling pretty useless here. Look, you're a strong kid, but if Jake is really up against a magic user, you're out of your depth. Trust me, this stuff is on a completely different level. I can barely keep up most of the time, and I use magic myself. Does Jake stand a chance? He can't use magic, can he? No, but Yamura knows the basics, I think. He was able to cast Aginastra. If he can use elemental magic, he might at least be able to fight back. But does Yamura know magic help Jake at all? Yamura doesn't want to die. If it means keeping himself alive, I can almost guarantee that Yamura would do anything to save his own skin, even help Jake. Anything you can find out would be appreciated. Thanks, Rusty says, disappointed. Sorry I don't have any information now. You kind of said it yourself, we don't have TVs here. After hanging up the phone, Danny immediately runs down the stairs to speak with Master Deoda. The elderly man is occupied reading a book titled The Tragic Rise and Fall of Master Alan Green. Master Deoda, Danny shouts, still running down the stairs. There was an attack in the mortal world. They think it was a magic user. Deoda closes his book, disinterested. I'm aware. It was not a rogue magician, if you were wondering. Danny is confused. It wasn't? How do you know? It was the Sakari known as Inyana. She is no threat to us. No threat? She just leveled an entire city from what I've heard. The threat of Inyana has been eliminated. You have your friend Jake to thank for that. Jake? Jake defeated a magic user? Deoda nods. Your friend has grown significantly. I suspect that you would barely recognize him now. That boy's power is tremendous. Honestly, if it continues to grow at its current rate, he will be viewed as a threat by the elders. What happened to Jake after the battle? Where is he? Is he safe? The elders have 2 provists assigned with keeping tabs on your friend. He's out of the city. Beyond that, I can say no more. Do you think it was wise assigning people to follow him? The last mages assigned that task were killed by Inyana. Provost Manel Karyani asks. I would just send in the knights and be done with it. We all know he's a time bomb waiting to go off. Even you knew about this? Danny asks, insulted. Jake is my friend, yet I'm being left out completely of the loop here. Your closeness to the situation is precisely why you have not been involved. You would not have been able to remain objective. Why do I still feel like an outsider in this dorm? Danny shouts in frustration. I'm going over to Master Forgeron's. Maybe he can tell me something useful without keeping secrets from me about my friends. I don't think that is a good idea, Deoda warns. Oh, now you care? Spare me your false caution, Danny growls. I don't think Master Forgeron can be trusted. Danny walks out of the door. You're the one I don't think I can trust, Master. Rusty paces upstairs, anxiously waiting news from Danny. Rather than work out or watch TV with his mother and Derek, he instead fuels his anxiety by thinking about nothing else other than Jake and what has happened to his cousin. Not even spending time with Amy could get his mind off the situation with Jake. If Jake really fought another person possessed by a demon like Yamura, how many more of those creatures could still be out there? He wonders if they were wrong, and that the one who made Brooke kill her family might still be around. Maybe there were 3 of them. Maybe there are countless numbers of them. Anyone could be possessed. The demons could be masquerading as anyone under his nose, and he would be none the wiser. No, Rusty thinks. I could sense something was off with Jake when he became possessed by Yamura. If someone else had a demon, I'd be able to tell. He looks across the room, staring at his eldest brother's room. And Mitch hasn't been home in 2 days. I hope he's safe. I know the deaths of Brad and Vaughn were hard on him. I'm sure he's trying to drown his sadness everywhere. Knowing him, he's also finding solace in the arms of some underclassman girl. Rusty's phone begins to ring. Yeah? He flips the phone open quickly. Danny? Hey kid, I was able to dig up some info for you, Danny says. It's not a lot, but at least it's something to go on. I'll take anything at this point. It's driving me crazy not knowing a damn thing. The woman fighting Jake was indeed his mother, Anne. I'm sorry, but it's been confirmed. Damn it, Rusty growls, tearing up and balling his fists. It get worse. Anne Stewart is dead. She did not survive the battle. Was she possessed? She had to be, right? She was taken over by Yamura's older sister, Inyana. Inyana was a ruthless tyrant and a powerful sorceress. I have no idea how Jake managed to overcome her, but he did. Jake is still alive. 2 of our magicians are keeping tabs on him. I can't tell you where he is in case someone is listening to our conversation, but I promise you that he's safe. Are there more demons like Yamura and Inyana? Are there more of their kind running around out there? I'm not sure. I haven't heard of any others, but that doesn't mean anything more than they just might be lying low. I doubt any of the Sakari want to be broadcast all over the news like Inyana and Yamura were. So Inyana was the aggressor? You know for sure that Jake wasn't on a rampage? I'm positive. Jake has found a way to keep Yamura from murdering people. I'm not sure how he's doing it, but Jake really does seem to be only fighting bad people with Ymura's power. And bad non-people like Inyana. Yeah. Danny is silent for a moment. Look, I'm not supposed to tell people stuff about Endelgian or magic, but I think you need to know. There are a lot of dangerous creatures out there and that most of the world is completely oblivious to. That monster that attacked your school, that was a revenant. There's a whole near endless wasteland filled with more of those nasty creatures, and things far worse. At any given second, more of them could claw their way into your world and wreak absolute havoc. The mages here do what they can to keep control of these monsters, but there aren't enough of us to stop every threat. You need to be prepared. It might be up to you one day to protect your friends and family if we can't. Thanks. After Ymura, I kind of figured there was a lot more to the world that was hidden from us. I feel bad for Jake. He's stuck in that world, with no way to ever come back. Yeah, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. Once you know about the monsters, there's no more ignoring them. Trust me, I know. You have magic and Jake has Ymura. I'm just a guy with no special powers. I'm not sure that I could really do anything to stop one of these monsters on my own. I've seen you in action, Rusty. You're far from helpless. You dealt damage to a revenant with just your fists. We have to cast spells to hurt creatures like that. I saw you fight Ymura to a standstill. You need to have more faith in yourself. I think you have a lot more power locked away inside of you that you haven't tapped into yet. I hope you're right. I hate feeling so useless. I couldn't live with myself if I let anyone else I cared about get hurt because I was too weak to protect them. We'll stay in touch. I'll let you know if I find anything else out. I have a bad feeling that you and I are the only people in this entire world that are in Jake's corner. I feel the same way. It seems like he has the entire universe against him. At least he doesn't have to worry about Ymura's sister, Danny says. We have to look for a bright side, right? I guess, Rusty whispers. I just don't feel like this was any kind of victory. Inyana may be dead, but Jake just became an orphan. How is he going to handle that? You know how tough Jake is. I'm sure he'll pull through, Danny reassures him. Most people would have given up faced with the odds that have been stacked against Jake ever since he bonded with Ymura. But instead, he keeps beating those odds and coming out on top. If anyone can get through this, it's him. Realm of Gehenna, City of Dis, the prison of those who committed crimes against family. This cannot be real. This must be a nightmare. Any second I will awaken, and I will be gone from this hell. Able to hear the thoughts of his prisoners, the grotesque demonic creature called a Rudderkin begins to laugh.
This is no dream, Sakari. This place is as real as air or water. The best part is that here you never age, so you get to stay and play with me for all eternity.
Inyana screams in rage, attempting to strike the guard with all of her remaining strength. The Rudderkin catches her fist in his massive reptilian hand, and begins to laugh even harder as he squeezes and drives her down to a knee.
Still feisty, huh? It will be all the more fun to break you.
The Rudderkin pulls Inyana off balance and delivers a kick to the ribs. Inyana screams out in agony, feeling her bones shatter. She tries to defend herself, but the guard backhands her against the wall of her stone cell. Darkness begins to overtake the Sakari as she loses consciousness.
Take a quick rest, love.
The Rudderkin laughs.
I'll wake you as soon as you're just beginning to heal. Here, your body is immortal and will regenerate no matter how extensive the damage. My job is to keep you at the very edge of oblivion, but never let you go over the edge, nor allow you to heal too much and find any peace. It's a difficult job balancing these things, but I enjoy it all the same.
Inyana opens her eyes only a few minutes later to find herself in the same position, but now her ribs have begun to heal. The Rudderkin grins, bending down to pick the Sakari up by her hair.
You know, Even if I crushed your skull in my hands until it was mush, you would even then begin to regenerate. Your sentience and your pain receptors would remain active, allowing you to feel everything. The magic of this realm is morbidly spectacular.
The Rudderkin slams Inyana's head against a wall before dragging her face down the length of it.
No matter what I do to you, you will always heal, and I can start over and over and over again.
Inyana is unable to scream, her face smeared along the wall down to the bone. The guard tosses her aside and waits 2 or 3 minutes, long enough for her skin to regenerate. Garuda Nostra! Inyana shouts, waving an arm and attempting to conjure a magical wind against her tormentor. Nothing happens.
Quick thinking, but still no use, the Rudderkin says. All mortal souls are branded with anti-magic seal upon arrival. You will be completely unable to cast any spells ever again.
Inyana suddenly kicks the back of the guard's leg, toppling him over. As the Rudderkin falls, Inyana pounces on his body and wraps his head into a tight headlock before twisting violently to the side. In an instant, the former Sakari queen has killed her tormentor. Impressive. A black-winged demonic creature with abnormally long clawed arms and a serpentine tail says, hovering outside the cell as Inyana stumbles out of the prison and into the hot air of the city of Dis. Very few mortals have ever succeeded in overcoming one of their guards before. I refuse to stay here, Inyana growls. Return me to life. The winged Belizao laughs. I have never met a soul as vibrant as yours. Breaking you would have been wasted on a Rudderkin anyways. I will not be broken, Inyana vows. I will kill every last one of you if needed. The Belizao darts down in a blur, speeding behind Inyana faster than her eyes can detect. She blinks in confusion several times, before the fiery pain sets in and her body collapses into many bloody pieces. Torture and death followed by regeneration is all Inyana knows for what seems like years. She refuses to break, continuing to remain defiant all throughout her time in Gehenna. Never does the Sakari beg for mercy. As the days begin to blur together, her memories start to fade into distant ideas of a life that might have once existed. She has difficulty telling if her life was a dream, or if her current existence is the nightmare, and she can somehow return to that dream one day. The hope of waking back up from the dream keeps Inyana going. While left to regenerate in the darkness of her cell one day, she is startled by the panicked shriek of her guard. You cannot be here, the Belizao shouts. This is a restricted area. There are rules. I do not acknowledge the rules of the Yazata, Cedron says, drawing his sword. In a single flash of diamond steel, the guard is cut down. The Grigori rebel rips the door off Inyana's cell and peers inside. Take my hand. Inyana sees the corpse of the Belizao lying just beyond him. You have further use to us in the world of the living. Further use to you? Inyana questions. I feel as though I have been manipulated. For a long time, actually, Cedrion admits. You Sakari were never in charge. The attack on the human world was our plan, not yours. Even your eventual defeat was part of our plans. Cedrion narrows his eyes on the battered female. What does it matter to you now here in perdition? I do not like to be used, Inyana growls, shirking back into the recesses of her dark cell. Fool, I offer you a singular opportunity at resurrection. How do I know you will not throw me right back here once my usefulness to you has run its course? Cedrion laughs loudly. You have problems with trust. I give you my word that no matter what, I will not return you to hell. You betrayed your very creator and warred against your brethren. Your word means nothing to me. Cedrion draws his sword and points it at Inyana. I will take you by force if needed. Inyana takes a deep breath and opens her eyes, staring out against the rocky cliffs overlooking the ocean. Her thoughts constantly drift to her time deceased, and she shudders. "So you really were in hell?" Kazura asks. "I wasn't even convinced that place actually existed." Inyana still feels the pain of 1,000 deaths. "It's all too real. I never wish to return to that horrid place." "You've decided to change your wicked ways?" Kazura asks with a grin. "That is a lot of bad karma to make up for." Inyana glares at the mysterious man. She still wonders what connection he has to her brother and his vessel, or why the Yazatas included him in their plans. "Nothing of the sort. I will achieve immortality. That is my only way to truly avoid the pit." "Many have sought immortality and failed. Do you have insight that the rest of us lack?" he asks, intrigued. Inyana points down into the island's thick jungle. "Down there is a sacred shrine created by the Yazata. That is why we were brought to this island of all places by them." "What makes you think their sacred treasure has anything to do with immortality?" "I do not," Inyana says matter-of-factly. "It houses a weapon. But the Yazata want that weapon and for some reason cannot obtain it themselves. Whatever is hidden away there is so powerful that they would resurrect me just to get a chance at it. This leads me to believe that they would trade anything for that weapon. So if I am able to take possession of it first, the Yazata will make me a true goddess." Kazura laughs. "As full of yourself as ever." "And there he goes again," Inyana thinks suspiciously. "He speaks as though we are old acquaintances. Yet he is a human. He could not have been alive the last time I was in this world. I must discover his identity, and the role he is meant to play in acquiring the Yazatan treasure." "What if the Yazata decide to just take their property from you by force?" Kazura asks. "You're strong, but I do not think that even you could defeat Cedrion or Gurdriel. If they could simply take the artifact by force, they would have already done so. They have need of us to get it for some reason, and that gives me leverage." Kazura shrugs, again laughing. "They don't need you." Inyana freezes, unsure that she's heard him correctly. "They need your brother and his vessel. You're just insurance." "You're privy to their plan?" she whispers, having misread the entire situation. Kazura is not another pawn like her. He's a key player. Kazura nods. "Your role is to lure your brother to this island and activate a modified version of Seal Keminare to envelope all of Jockey. Your brother and his vessel will do the real legwork to acquire the Banakazka." "Banakazka?" Inyana whispers. "That's the name of the weapon?" Kazura again nods. "The legendary blade that is both sacred and cursed by the Yazata. With it, even Anshar will be made to bow." Inyana is terrified, unable to prevent herself from shaking in fear. "What have I been made a part of? This is madness." "Your brother is not ready to undertake this task. We must wait for other events to play out as foreseen. Soon we will play our roles and ensure success," Kazura says. "What events do you speak of?" Inyana asks. "Your subordinate Hui is gathering together his power and about to make a move to enter this world once again. Yamura will be key in stopping him. Only by defeating Hui will your brother gain enough strength to survive the trials ahead." "You," Inyana whispers, "you want my brother to succeed in defeating Hui?" Kazura grins. "For your sake, you had better root for your brother as well. If Yamura fails to defeat Hui, the Yazata will have no more use for you, and you will be returned to the fire." "Who is he?" Inyana thinks in terror, a cold sweat starting across her body. "Is this a true devil? Is this man what absolute evil truly is? My brother and I have been fools this entire time. We've been used by these bastards from the beginning. I too am nothing more than a mere pawn in their game." "Cheer up," Kazura says. "Our chances for success are high. Many weaker mortals will be lured to this place in addition to Ymura and Hui, in order to prepare them both for their final battle. With the power of your seal Caminare, those who fall will add their strength to the victor. By the end of our game, your brother's power will be great enough to best Hui and claim the Banakazka for us. The Astral Realm, and Delgion, the magical city. Having fully integrated into the city and culture over the past year, Dani Livingston spends the majority of her time split between studying with her master, Juvet Diota, and the leader of the Blackwing Society, Master Tors Forgeron. Studying with Master Forgeron, Dani has been able to learn many spells and lessons that her own assigned master would never teach her out of fear and apprehension. Today, however, Dani spends a few rare moments of free time with her peers and closest friends within the city. "So what was the special occasion today for you to grace us with your company?" asked Vadis Nando, second command of the powerful, magical soldiers of Delgion, the Knights of Solomon. Only a few years older than Dani, Vadis is a young protege who has surpassed all of his peers and is regarded as one of the most highly skilled youths to ever come through the city. At only age 14, Vadis tested out at the level of master in order to promote to the Knights at age 17. "Trust me, it wasn't to see you." Dani laughs, putting an arm around fellow student of Master Diota, transmutation magic-focused Alor Kever. "I've been neglecting my sister here." "Sorry, Vadis," Alor smiles. "You're a third wheel today. This is a girls' luncheon." Vadis laughs mischievously. "I'm not against those odds. 2-on-1 doesn't look too bad from here." "Ew, dream on," Alor says, making a disgusted face. "Boys are so gross." "You couldn't handle one of us, let alone both of us at once," Dani laughs. Vadis shrugs. "Yeah, you're probably right." "I don't think Captain Erisai would approve of you distracting yourself with romantic entanglements anyway," Dani says. "He seems pretty strict. The rumor is all the Knights of Solomon are celibate." "Not by choice," Vadis laughs. "I just have a bad habit of being attracted to the wrong type of girls." "What type of girl is that?" Dani asks, eyeing him carefully. "Opinionated and headstrong," Vadis smiles. "I'm a glutton for punishment, I suppose." "Any girl who doesn't think for herself is destined to be nothing more than a victim or property." Dani thinks about her mother and her past abusive relationships, and becomes both sad and angry simultaneously. Alor nods. "You need to have your own ambitions and aspirations, not just adopt what some man wants." "I feel like I'm outnumbered here," Vadis laughs. "We had better change the subject before the two of you start burning your bras." "Whoever said that I wear one?" Dani asks, laughing mischievously. Alor glances over, thinking her friend may be flirting a bit too aggressively. Vadis may be a decent guy, but their lives are dangerous. Getting too attached could prove to be extremely painful. One day, either of them may not return to the city alive. "I guess you are a little flat-chested," Vadis replies, parrying the tease back at her. Dani glares at him, extending a hand towards his face. "I could turn you into a cockroach for that." Vadis's eyes widen. "Are you serious? Where did you learn curse magic like that?" Alor speaks first, disapprovingly. "I bet she learned it from the Blackwings." Vadis frowns, also against Dani's continued association with the black magic users. "Why are you still going over there? Master Diota can teach you anything you could ever want to know. Curse magic is avoided by even the masters. The black arts are infectious and far too dangerous to wield." "From what I've seen in my life, I know that isn't completely true," Dani says. "There are monsters out there that elemental magics cannot defeat. A magician needs to be well educated in all of the arts, to be ready to combat any threat. But if it makes you feel more at ease, I've never pulled off a successful transmutation spell of any kind." "Black magic changes a person," Vadis argues. "It seeps into your very soul and makes you do horrible things." "You think I don't know that?" Dani asks, her voice raising in irritation. "The magic I used to bring Ymura into this world was pure darkness. I've felt what it does, and I know better than anyone that I need to be careful. But I also know that I can't be scared of that kind of darkness. I have to be able to face my fears, or I'll freeze up and possibly get myself or someone else killed should we ever have to face a powerful black sorcerer. I don't like it, Bodice grumbles, finally relenting. Master Fordron is not to be trusted. He's odd, but he isn't a villain, Danny argues. He's no Sakari. Hell, he isn't even as terrifying as Scrimauer. He gives me the creeps, Allura adds. I don't trust him either. Are the two of you done ganging up on me? You both sound like Master Deoda and Manel. All they do is chastise me about training with the Blackwings. God forbid they make me feel like I'm wanted and fit in around here. Danny says, standing up to leave. I'll see you around. I have a lesson with the great evil warlock Taurus Fordron to attend. Danny, wait, Bodice says, holding out an arm, but she does not look back. Damn it. We didn't handle that intervention very well, did we? Allura asks, disappointed. I'll talk to her later in the dorm and try to smooth things over. Bodice nods. If you notice any changes in her, be sure to notify me immediately. Absinthe and Niana. The telephone rings loudly throughout the old two-story home. Built in 1839, the house was even once used as part of the Underground Railroad, funneling escaped slaves from the Confederacy northward. Hello? Sue Rigsby answers, hurrying to the phone. It has been days since she last spoke to her husband Gator, and is relieved to hear his voice once more. Hey, hon, Gator replies. Miss me yet? Of course, Sue laughs. I don't miss your messes, but I do miss having you around. Messes? What messes? I'm the cleanest fucking man you've ever met. So I imagined all those years of your dirty laundry and empty beer cans then. Gator laughs. I don't know of which you speak. Staying busy? I know you can't really say much, but you're safe, right? Gator pauses and Sue can swear she hears shouting in the background, followed by gunfire. Absolutely. Lots of traveling and paperwork. Pretty boring shit, really. I'm just here as a temporary consultant, not a field operator. Don't bullshit me, Rigsby. I know damn well you can never sit behind a desk and pencil push while there's a battle being fought. Just stay safe, that's all I'm asking. I don't want to be a widow raising these boys all alone. Hell, the boys are all in high school, Gator says. Not much raising left to be done. I mean it. Sue begins to lose her patience. Okay, Gator sighs. I'll think before I do anything reckless. Like I believe that, Sue says, disheartened. Thinking before you act has never been your strong suit. My headstrong and impulsive nature is what drew you to me, wasn't it? No, you were a total stud. I didn't pay much attention to anything else for quite a while, Sue laughs. Still am, Gator adds with a smile. Are you still having a wank with your old lady? Chris Means, an LAPD veteran and member of Gator's Silver Fox Squad, says before a large tentacle wraps around his throat.
This Udaku isn't gonna slay itself!
Udaku? Sue whispers nervously. What is that? Sushi, Gator says quickly. Well, it will be soon. The boys are struggling to cut it up properly. It's kind of like a pufferfish, and that it can be dangerous if not prepared correctly. Sue sighs loudly. You know, you've always been a terrible liar. Go help your boys before that thing kills someone. I found the flamethrower! Daniel Kente, the newest member of Gator's team, shouts. A tentacle wraps around one of his legs and pulls him hard to the floor with a loud oof. All right, I love you, Gator says. Tell the boys I miss them and I'll be back home as soon as I can. Be safe, Sue replies, trying to hide her fear and sadness. Those kind of distractions could get her husband killed. To help keep him safe, she knows she must be strong. Gator closes his cell phone and runs over to pick up the dropped flamethrower. Two tentacles lash out at the veteran warrior, but he evades each with the agility of a much younger man and manages to draw his K-bar fixed-blade combat knife and carve deep gashes into the appendages, forcing them to recoil in pain. "Come at me, you squid-faced motherfucker!" he screams, running at the beast and unleashing bursts of fire from his weapon. Danny paces the main hall of the dormitory of Master Tor's Forgeron, seething. "They treat me like I'm a child," Danny growls. "I've faced Sakari and Remnants. I've even survived against the rogue magician Scrimhour. What has any of them done?" "It's fear that causes them to act ill towards you," Forgeron says. "As you said, you faced terrible evils and came out stronger. None of them will ever be able to understand what you've been through. Because they fear the darkness, they cannot comprehend anyone who could control it and not become controlled by it. I don't understand why Vadis, of all people, would be like this," Danny says, still irritated. "He's surely fought things even more terrible than I have as a Knight of Solomon. If he wasn't corrupted, why would he assume I would be so weak to be changed by it?" "A lack of respect, maybe?" Forgeron asks. "Vadis' chivalry may indeed be veiled chauvinism. Just because you're female, he may assume you being incapable of the levels of strength as himself." "The knights look at all of us that way," says Denise Barrett, a provost of Forgerons. "They would lock us away as rogues if they could, just for having the knowledge of black magic." "There are very distinct social castes in this society that I am sure you're becoming made aware of," Forgeron says. "A select few magicians are born with an innate ability to cast magic. The rest of us must struggle and train our bodies and minds daily just to keep up, because you are one of those with special gifts. Deoda and the others hope to get you on their side, but you are much more like us, able to see the truths of this world without bias. I just have to prove to them that I'm not corrupted," Danny says. "No amount of convincing will make them see you as anything more than a powerful tool. They're afraid of your corruption because you will no longer be useful to them." "What if I were able to show them the benefits of black magic spells?" Forgeron chuckles. "Black magic is targeted for offensive spells and curses. It would be difficult to show their use outside of combat." Danny becomes even more frustrated. "I've already shown them all that I can hold my own in battle. What more could I hope to demonstrate?" "I've already told you there's nothing you can do," Forgeron says. "They will always treat you like an outsider and be suspicious of you. They're scared of what they cannot control. All of the students and trainees here are found at a young age, possessing magical talent, and those that are not discovered until later in their lives cannot be molded into their visions so easily. They are born with gifts. The rest of us must work extra hard for even minuscule gains in ability." "Are all of the Blackwing trainees that were brought in as teens or older like me?" Forgeron nods. "I did not become an apprentice till I was 23. At that age, we are not as susceptible to the ideals of those that rule the society's power structure. My master saw this conflict and gathered together all the students falling through the cracks. He was the original Blackwing, Master Corbin Bramley." "Your master, where is he now?" "Dead," Forgeron says coldly, "slain by a dark magician. His death is why our group specifically learns how to counter dark magic, rather than to pretend that it doesn't exist. The other masters would keep the other students ignorant of the dark arts and leave them completely unprepared. Only we are equipped to deal with dark magic users. We were almost wiped out by Scrimhour, even with Blackwing support," Danny says. "What you're doing isn't enough. Every student here needs to be taught how to counter dark magic curses, not just the Blackwings." "I do not disagree with you. I have pushed for this for many years with the elders, to poor reception. Even with some knowledge of dark magic, it was not enough. You did better than any of the other students, but you still have a lot left to learn. Scrimhour was able to cast master-level spells and curses. Without another master present, even you would have been killed." "I'm not arguing that. I know I was in over my head. I'm asking you to teach me more. Teach me what my master refuses. Teach me how to counter master-level dark magic." Forgeron grins at Danny's drive. I will continue to supplement Master Dioda's lessons with skills I think are necessary for you to learn. But I think it would serve you much better to speak with someone who has mastered the dark arts." "You don't mean—" Fordron nods. "Your first exposure to dark magic was by a novice who could barely even cast a single elemental spell. In the short time here, you've exceeded him by leaps and bounds. Your natural talent for magic is remarkable. Had you been discovered at an early age, you would likely be in the same category as someone like Bottas. That raw talent you possess is why the elders are even bothering to see you trained. Dioda knows what a shame it would be for your skills to be wasted. Your peers are under orders to train with you, but secretly, they think of you as a pariah." "No, I can't think that," Danny says, shaking her head. "Allure and Vadas are my friends. They may have their fears, but they trust me. I have to trust in them as well." Fordron makes a disapproving, clicking sound with his tongue. "Are they truly your friends? Would friends view each other as someone that is a potential danger? They keep you close to keep an eye on you." Fordron's words hang in the air, burning their way into Danny's thoughts as deep paranoia. "Even if I were inclined to want to speak with Scrimauer, he's under total lockdown in one of the Knights of Solomon detention towers. I would never be permitted his audience." "I can arrange for you to speak with him, but it'll be through many layers of protected barrier magic. Scrimauer is far too clever to give any opportunities of escape. His tower is enchanted with the strongest barrier magic possible, and the room itself is built with anti-magic crystals. You must be constantly vigilant. Scrimauer is manipulative, and will most surely attempt to have you set him free, knowingly or not." "Then isn't it too dangerous to even try to speak with him?" "We need to understand how he was able to amass so much dark power in a relatively short time. When he was left here, he was only a provost. Yet he was able to summon one of the saints. That is a feat that should be impossible. Even our own elders could not control one of the saints. He had that forbidden book. Didn't he just learn how to summon the saints from reading that?" "If I gave you a book about nuclear fission, would you be able to construct for me a power plant by yourself? Just having the access to the knowledge is not enough to actually be powerful enough to pull off such a feat. No, there was something else. Scrimauer must have discovered some secret that allowed him to cast summoning spells and curses far beyond his level of skill." "What kind of secret could there be to summoning spells like that?" Fordron looks at Danny as if she just asked the dumbest question in the world. "If it is secret, how am I supposed to know?" Danny becomes embarrassed. "Oh, right, sorry. Scrimauer was hardly one of our most promising young mages. I could take a dozen of mages just like him and train them for a decade, and none of them would manage to pull off such a complicated summoning spell. So then, how can a mediocre talent leave us for 8 years and turn into a mage that can take on multiple masters at once and summon one of the saints? It does not make any sense to me." "Why can't you just talk to him? Why does it have to be me?" "Because he knows he will not be able to manipulate me, so he will not be nearly as talkative. If he thinks he has a chance, he will be more willing to speak freely with you. Perhaps his attempts to coerce you will be educational." "It seems very risky. The other masters will not approve." "Nothing valuable can be gained without risk. And when have you ever cared what others think? If you were concerned with the other master's approval, you would not have come to me for help." Danny takes a deep breath but does not reply. She knows what Fordron says is true. The other masters and elders are so scared of black magic that even speaking of it is considered taboo. "What we accomplished against Scrimauer is something that not even masters like Cyril Nando, Desmond Aronio, or Jen Kudesk were able to do," Fordron says. "You stood your own against a dark mage that was able to summon the saints and literal meteors from the sky. The elders may not give you the credit or respect that you deserve, but I am not above it. You have amazing gifts and talent. You are a true magical prodigy. I think the elders are scared of you and your power. They want to hold you back because they are afraid that you will render them obsolete." Danny is shocked that Master Fordron thinks so highly of her. But if that's true, why did they ever allow me to stay here in the first place? They hope to keep you under their thumb. The elders love having the power over the mages of this city. They seek to control your growth in a way that does not allow it to exceed their own. You are not the first mage they have attempted to hold back, and you will not be the last. There's a deep-seated corruption in this city. It may not be obvious at first glance, but beneath the grandeur and sparkle of the crystal, Endelgion is the ugly truth of the elders and their duplicity. Why are you telling me this? Danny whispers. I just want you to know the truth. It's not fair for you to be used and manipulated by those in positions of power, just so that they be able to hold on to that power. Myself and others like me secretly work to open the eyes of the other mages of this city to the truth. It's my hope that one day soon the elders will no longer be able to hold on to the lies they have perpetuated for so long. One day soon, the city will rise up and overthrow their corrupt regime, and replace the elders with a system of government that better reflects the values and beliefs of Endelgion as a whole. Scrimauer, Danny whispers. He was also complaining of the corruption of the city. Was he secretly one of the other mages, set against the elders and working to undermine them? Adrian Scrimauer was a murderer and a traitor, Fordron says coldly. We have no association with him. Danny begins to think that there is much more to Scrimauer's connection to Fordron and the Blackwings than the Master is letting on. I'll try to talk to him, she finally says. Maybe I'll get lucky and learn something useful. Fordron nods. We'll never know until we try. It is my fear that Scrimauer is part of a much bigger threat to the city than a single rogue magician. If I am proven correct, we will have to work quickly to organize support. Danny wonders what bigger threat could Fordron be alluding to. The thought that there are others like Scrimauer out there, all possessing the ability to summon the Saints, frightens her to the core. The Saints were a force that Danny wished she had never had to face ever again.